Hello everyone! It's me again, Teacher Joanne. This tutorial is for statistics and probability, a subject which is intended for grade 11 senior high school students in the Philippines. For today's objectives, at the end of the lesson, the learners will be able to compute probabilities corresponding to a given random variable, illustrates the mean and variance of a discrete random variable, and calculates the mean and variance of a discrete random variable. The topic for this tutorial is mean and variance of discrete random variable. So expected value is just the average or mean of a random variable x. It is the sum of the products of each possible value of a random variable and that value's probability. The mean is considered as a measure of the central location of a random variable. It is also sometimes called a weighted average because more frequent values of x are weighted more highly in the average. So for the formula we have expected value or mean. So we have summation of x times the probability of x. For example, so table shows the probability distribution of emergency room arrivals at DLSU Medical Center. So we have X, 10 patients arrive and the probability is 0.4. 11 patients arrive, probability is 0.2. 12 patients arrive is 0.2. 13 patients arrive is 0.1. 14 patients arrive is 0.1. So if you would notice, if you add all the probabilities, that is equal to 1. So what is the average number of patient arrivals in the emergency room? So we will be using the formula summation of x times the probability of x. So to substitute, we will have 10 times 0.4 plus 11 times 0.2 plus 12 times 0.2 plus 13 times 0.1 plus 14 times 0.1. So the average number of patients arrival in the emergency room is 11.3. So that is actually the mean or the expected value. So we could also use an MS Excel to make the solution or computation easier. So let's have the table in the Excel. So for the first column, we can actually write the x, and then for the second column, the probability. Then for the third column, that's where we'd actually be putting in the formula. So for the first one, so we just multiply the first column and the second column. So we have 10 times 0.4, so that is 4, or we could also use the function product, so equals product, and then just select the cell that we are multiplying, and then just press on enter. So to make it easier, you can just drag the cursor downward up to the last one, and it will copy the formula. And then to get the mean, so we can just add or we can just use the function sum, so equal sum, and then select the cells that we are adding. Then it would automatically compute for the expected value or the mean. So it's supposed to be the same answer as the previous slide. Okay, so you have 11.3 as the mean. Next, we have the variance of random variable. So variance of a random variable displays the variability or the dispersion of the random variable. So it shows the distance of random variable from its mean. If the value of the variance is small, then the values of the random variables are close to the mean. So this is the formula for computing variance. So we have the summation of quantity x minus the mean squared times the probability of x. For example, so we have the same table as the one we have earlier. So now the question is, what is the variance of the distribution function? So we have the computation of the mean earlier, which is 11.3. Then use the formula. Then just substitute all the values. So you have 10 minus 11.3 squared times the probability 0.4. 11 minus 11.3 squared times 0.2 plus 12 minus 11.3 squared times 0.2 plus 13 minus 11.3 squared times 0.1 plus 14 minus 11.3 then squared times 0.1. So our variance would be 1.81. So take note, if you were asked to compute for the standard deviation, you just have to get the square root of the variance. So to solve using the MS Excel, so we still have our first three columns that we use for computation of the mean. For our fourth column, we have the x minus the mean. Then for the fifth column, so the difference between the mean and the x, and then just squared it. And for the sixth column, so you have the difference of x minus mean and then squared times the probability of x. So for the first one, so x minus mean, so we're going to just put in the formula, so starting with the equal sign, and then select the x column, then minus the mean, which is the 11.3, so that's the selected cell, and then just put in the dollar sign, so it will not change, so it would always be subtracting the value of the mean. So since you have that already, so you can just drag it down to copy the formula to fill in the rest of the column. So next column we have the mean minus the x minus the mean squared. So you can also add or subtract or increase or decrease the decimal. So that's your option. So for this one, I'm using 2 decimal places. So now for the fifth column, so just put in the formula. So equals, and then we have the D column, and then just multiply it by itself to square it. Then just enter. And then just copy the previous formula to fill in the rest of the column. Okay, now for the last column, so this will help us to compute for the variance. So we just have to multiply the fifth column and the second column. So just key in the function starting with the equal sign. and then multiply the two target cells. Then once you have that, you can just drag it down to copy the formula. So since I use two decimal places, so we're decreasing the decimal places here to two only. And then once you have that, you can now add in order to get the variance. So just key in the function, so equal, and then sum, and then select the cells that we are adding. So we have the variance is 1.81. So let's see what have we learned for today. Okay, so identify the terms being asked in each of the following items. So it is the sum of the products of each possible value of a random variable and the value's probability. Number 2, it shows the distance of a random variable from its mean. Number 3, it's sometimes called a blank because more frequent values of x are weighted more highly in the average. Number 4, if the value of the variance is small, then the values of the random variable are blank to the mean. And number 5, what is the formula for the expected value or mean? Okay, so you may check your own at the correct answer. So for number 1, that is expected value or mean. For number 2, that is variance. Number 3 is weighted mean. Number 4 is close. And for number 5, the formula is the summation of x times the probability of x. Okay, so I hope you got all of that correct. So we're done for today, and thank you very much. I hope you learned a lot and see you in our next lesson. Bye!